All right. Salute everybody that's going to tap in. Appreciate all y'all coming in here today. Like, share, and subscribe as y'all come in the chat. And yes, we are definitely going to get into this situation because this is one of them ones. And I appreciate everybody who has been tapped into the channel. Hopefully, the microphone is better for you guys. I changed the mic. So, y'all let me know if the mic is working better for y'all today in the comments. Again, y'all smash the like button, share the video, like the videos, y'all come on in. We appreciate everybody who has shown love and support to our podcast show. If you haven't subscribed, make sure y'all subscribe. It's $1 just to get in the door. That's it. $1 a month on the podcast show. And once you subscribe to the podcast show, each month we'll be giving away a giveaway to one of our podcast show subscribers over on Patreon. So make sure y'all click that link. It's pinned at the top of the comment section and go over to our podcast show and make sure y'all tap in over at our podcast show, patreon.com. At the end of this month, we'll be giving away a free 40-inch flat screen TV to one of our paid subscribers over on Patreon. So make sure y'all go over there and do that. The link will be in the comment section, pinned at the top, in the description box below. Let's get right into this, man. This situation, this NBA situation has gone nuclear. Again, y'all let me know in the comments if the microphone is better today. I changed my mic just to test this stream because I wanted to see if it was better. A lot of people were saying, "Hey, Ticket Man, couldn't hear your mic, man." Blah 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 blah. So I said, "Okay, let me go ahead and change the mic and see if this mic works better for you guys." So y'all let me know. Y'all let me know that in the comment section as well. But I have a lot of information to pass y'all today because it is some things that are going on, ladies and gentlemen. It is definitely some things that are going on. And we are going to touch on this right here, right now, today. Now, as you guys already know, current NBA player, I should say former because he has signed a $42 million deal with the Detroit Pistons. And that deal got voided because of this investigation, which ended up being a federal indictment. I'm going to tell y'all something. The National Basketball Association is in trouble, right? The National Basketball Association is in major trouble. The commissioner, Adam Silver, excuse me, guys, he needs to step down immediately. I've already told you guys this 1,000 times. They have informants that are giving up these NBA basketball players. Let me repeat myself. They have informants that have been giving up these NBA basketball players and coach. If you look into the paperwork, it is a bad situation. The guy you see on your screen right here, we talked about him the other day. He was playing for the Milwaukee Bucks, and he has a game with them where they caught him. They had a few games where they alleged that this guy basically point shaved or stat padded or cheated the game in order to help sports bettors. You have this problem. You have a rampant problem right now with the situation with Adam Silver and one of his main owners, one of the richest men in the world, and Steve Ballmer, with the aspiration situation that the NBA has tried to sweep under the rug. We're going to talk about all these things today because the commissioner, he has to go. He's got to go, man. He has destroyed the National Basketball Association. If you guys look, this is unprecedented that you have all of these players that are getting federal indictments. We're not even talking about it. And remember, just a couple of years ago, and I'm going to talk about all this today, how the players, LeBron James, Steph Curry, and all these guys, they were bashing Donald Trump. Now, all of a sudden, for some unknown reason, the NBA is trying to get close to Donald Trump, right? But I'm going to break that all down for y'all today because I got the paperwork. And it's sad because when these NBA players get into these situations, you know what I'm saying? Again, Malik Beasley, him and his lawyer are saying he's not guilty, blah, blah, blah. But the evidence is crazy in this case. You know what I mean? And I'm going to talk to y'all about that today, too. These guys are bringing their parents in it, right? Their parents are involved. This is the sad situation about it all. These guys' parents are involved. What do you mean? Their parents, the parents for Malik Beasley had to go up to a court yesterday to a federal trial to help sign for their son to get bond. I'm going to break this whole thing down for you guys, right? And I'm going to tell you why Adam Silver, the current commissioner of the National Basketball Association, should go ahead and step down. He has destroyed the National Basketball Association, in my opinion. And I think that all of these things that have happened under his watch, after this, hold on, my bad, y'all. After these things that happened with this guy, absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I think Adam Silver is a horrible commissioner. Horrible commissioner. I think that Adam Silver, again, it's a lot to be asked about that guy. And I believe that the NBA and those guys are currently being investigated. I'm going to tell y'all why, by the feds. And I'm going to tell y'all why. And I believe, and a lot of other people believe, that this may be one of the reasons why the NBA, Adam Silver, and those guys are trying to get in the good graces of Donald Trump. Because I'm going to tell y'all where he comes in all this too. Because remember, back in 2020, the league took a stance to where they was protesting. They were standing up against this, and they didn't like Donald Trump. And they were standing against him, and their key players spoke out against him. But now you see Adam Silver leaning over into Donald Trump. You see James Dolan, he's leaning over into Donald Trump, like inviting him to NBA Finals games, doing all these things to try to ingratiate themselves with him. Well, we're going to talk about all that today. But first, we're going to talk about Mr. Malik Beasley on the screen, right? Shout out my boy Ron Town in the building. So Malik Beasley, his parents had to go down to the courthouse. And this is the most embarrassing thing that could ever happen. His parents went down to the courthouse, and his parents co-signed a $100,000 bond package to secure his release following his arraignment in Brooklyn federal court. Let me repeat that again. Malik Beasley's mama and his daddy had to go down to the courthouse, right, to the Brooklyn federal court, and they had to co-sign a $100,000 bond package to secure his release following his arraignment the other day. Now, basically, his parents, Michael and Dorinda Beasley, signed as his two sureties, right? So they joined the court proceeding via telephone from Georgia, right? Now, Malik Beasley, I should say, he pleaded not guilty to charges including wire fraud conspiracy, bribery in sports contest, and money laundering conspiracy related to an NBA gambling and game rigging scandal, right? He is strictly prohibited from gambling and cannot make any contact with any witnesses or co-defendants. What I said again, he is strictly prohibited from gambling and cannot make any contact with any witnesses or co-defendants. They got snitches in this case, and they got snitches all in all these cases. And I'm going to tell you something. They got people that's actually telling that's going to get the league shut down. Let me repeat myself again. They have people that are telling that are going to get the league shut down. They're going to get the league hurt real bad because there's so many players. Let me tell y'all something. This is just a real like second or third wave of different indictments we've seen against these NBA players. Think about it. They're directly coming for the National Basketball Association. Current players, former players, current coaches, they're not playing. You think they're not investigating Adam Silver, the NBA league front office, what they may know? You think that it's a coincidence all of a sudden that they're running around Donald J. Trump? Well, we're going to talk about all this today because it's very important information for y'all to hear. Smash the like button, share the video, and like the channel as y'all come on in. So basically, the reason why Michael Beasley's parents had to sign, right? This is the reason why. Because in federal court, suretors are required to guarantee that the defendant will not, he won't run. So basically, they had to guarantee that he will return to court and strictly abide by all of their release conditions, you guys. Now, by serving as suretors, his parents, Michael and Dorinda Beasley, take on legal and financial responsibility for him. If Malik Beasley violates his bail terms or flees, right, His parents risk losing the money tied to a $100,000 bond. And no, I'm not talking NBA basketball. This is not a basketball game. This is a serious issue. This is a serious issue where they're being investigated for crimes. Get it right. And the commissioner needs to be, in my opinion, he needs to be investigated. And if they find anything on him, he needs to be arrested if they find anything on him, Adam Silver. And I'm dead serious when I say this. So basically, the federal magistrate judge required two sureties to ensure that Malik Beasley has strong personal and financial ties, keeping him accountable because he has allegedly accumulated millions of dollars in debt. Now, remember, this is the same kind of narrative with a lot of these guys. Same thing they were saying around Terry Rozier. Like he's supposed to have allegedly been in debt. So they're throwing this jacket on Malik Beasley, right? But they're saying because he has allegedly accumulated millions of dollars in debt from a gambling addiction, the court used family oversight as a layer of security for him on his bond. Now, during that hearing yesterday at the Brooklyn Federal Court, the judge actively questioned Malik Beasley's mother about how she regularly speaks with him to establish the strength of their supervision. She confirmed that she calls him daily, a fact that reassured the court of their active involvement in his life. Now, Malik Beasley, you guys, officially entered a plea of not guilty to federal charges of wire fraud conspiracy, bribery in sporting contest, and money laundering conspiracy, which we'll talk about how many years that lands in a little while. This dude is facing it, man, bro. This is sad, bro. This is truly sad. And y'all need to smash the like button because the information I'm gonna give y'all today is gonna blow y'all socks off. They have informants in this case. Somebody is trying to bring down the whole operation all the way across the board. So basically, as I told you guys, Malik Beasley pled not guilty yesterday, right? To all three federal charges. Federal prosecutors are claiming that he took bribes to intentionally alter his on-court performance during the 2024 stint with the Milwaukee Bucks to satisfy gambling debts that he owed to former NBA player Ed Davis, right? Now, Ed Davis, he's been charged as well, right? He's facing the same charges as Malik Beasley, right? Even though he hasn't been accused of or didn't directly rig the game himself, right? It says, in addition to Malik Beasley's parents' financial backing, Malik Beasley release conditions state that he is completely banned from gambling and barred from contacting any witnesses, like I said, or co-defendants, right, linked to this scandal. So right there, let y'all know they got snitches. They got people that's out here that's giving the information to the government, to the federal government, to tear down the National Basketball Association, right? And I'm going to give y'all the whole layout and what I think is going on and what a lot of people who are experts think that's going on, because this is real deep, this entire situation, right? So basically, and I tell y'all right here, right? So they're basically, oh, the other guy, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Ed Davis, man. But man, this is bad news right here, man. It breaks my spirit too, man. But apparently, as far as Ed Davis is concerned, that's the other former NBA player who they said they didn't say he rigged any games. They just said that they're alleging that, well, I'll read it to you guys. He hasn't entered a plea yet. His arraignment schedule differs slightly from his co-defendants. Now, while the co-defendants, Malik Beasley and sports agent Paolo Zamorano, officially appeared in Brooklyn Federal Court and pled not guilty, Ed Davis was arrested earlier in the week and is still awaiting his formal arraignment so that he can enter his plea. Now, here's the thing. The agent, right, that was Ed Davis's agent, Paolo Zamorano, he pleaded not guilty and was also released on bond. So, Ed was arrested by federal authorities and is currently in custody, awaiting his formal arraignment in the Eastern District of New York, right? So federal prosecutors allege that Ed acted as a gatekeeper for the operation. They're alleging that he allegedly collected inside information or inside performance information from Malik Beasley to clear Malik Beasley's personal gambling debts, then passed that data along to a ring of co-conspirators who placed lucrative sports wagers. That's what they're alleging, right? Now, here's the thing right here, y'all. Ed Davis, just for his alleged role, is facing up to 45 years in prison if convicted on all federal counts. So the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York has charged Ed Davis and his co-defendants with multiple federal felonies. The maximum statutory penalties for each count are, as I'm about to tell y'all right now: wire fraud conspiracy, they face up to 20 years in federal prison. Money laundering conspiracy, they face up to 20 years in federal prison. Bribery in sports contests, up to 5 years in federal prison, totaling 45 years in federal prison, right? Now, according to the court documents, which I'm going to go through y'all in a second to show y'all this whole alleged setup. This thing is wild, y'all. And again, y'all smash the like button, share the video, like the videos. Y'all come in here. Salute to everybody. If y'all want to support the channel, Cash App, PayPal link is pinned at the top of the comments or in the description box below this video. Let us know what y'all think. According to the court documents that I'm going to show you guys in a few minutes, he allegedly coordinated with Malik Beasley, like I said, in his 2023-2024 season. Now, in exchange, they're alleging that Ed Davis reduced or entirely eliminated his personal gambling debts while passing insider data to a ring of co-conspirators who place highly lucrative wagers. Now, also, Malik Beasley faces 45 years in federal prison if he's convicted on all counts. Again, he has pled not guilty, but he has been charged with wire fraud conspiracy, maximum of 20 years in prison, money laundering conspiracy, maximum of 20 years in prison, bribery in sports contest, maximum of 5 years in prison, right? Now, his attorney, Jason Goldman, emphasized again that he's innocent, this, that, and the third. That's what your lawyer is going to say, regardless of the situation, right? Now, the federal prosecutors are arguing that Malik Beasley deliberately altered his stats, specifically targeting games where he underperformed or overperformed on player prop lines to help co-conspirators cash out on those lucrative bets, right? Now, the informants. This right here, what I'm going to show y'all right now, and we're going to go through this in just a second. This is the official federal indictment. Y'all know I don't come on here talking unless I got paperwork. I don't want to talk unless I got paperwork. If I ain't got no paperwork, I ain't going to say nothing. Paperwork. 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 In that paperwork y'all see right there on the screen, right? It points to unnamed, unindicted co-conspirators, right? Who may be cooperating with the feds as informants. The evidence that suggests this is the unnamed co-conspirators themselves. The legal documents that y'all see that were unsealed by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York specifically refer to several unnamed individuals involved in the betting ring. Legal analysts note that the inclusion of the unnamed co-conspirators in a federal indictment strongly signals that the government is utilizing inside sources or individuals who have flipped to avoid prosecution. Also, there's an alleged college basketball coach that's involved. Among these unnamed and unindicted individuals that have not been released or put out to the public is a former NCAA Division I college basketball player who currently serves as a coach for a Division II men's basketball team. While this coach has not been publicly identified or charged, they are deeply embedded in the detailed timeline of how insider info was passed around. This is another reason why I tell y'all that Adam Silver, the commissioner, has to go, bro. Bro, you got this type of rampant stuff going on in your league, allegedly, man. And you already had Damon Jones plead guilty. So that already shows y'all that some of the conspiracy that they're alleging is legit, because you had a former NBA player that was a unofficial coach for the Lakers over there with LeBron James and them. He already pled guilty, right? We're going to talk about that as well. Also, extensive leaked communications in this case, you guys. The informants or cooperating witnesses are highly likely assisting the prosecutors in mapping out the encrypted communications. The FBI has obtained specific Snapchat messages, text, and post-game reactions, such as a co-conspirator texting that Beasley let out a big sigh of relief after forcing a prop line rebound, suggesting that individuals within the immediate betting circle are providing context to the feds. Somebody is helping take down the entire league piece by piece by exposing a lot of the alleged corruption that's going on. And this all falls on Adam Silver. He's the commissioner of the league. You never saw this rampant type of stuff with David Stern. You never saw it. You never saw it. But right now you're seeing it with Adam Silver. You have to ask yourself why. Now, let me say this again. You have to literally ask yourself, why are we seeing this in this case right here? Why? Why are we seeing this in this case? For what reason? Why are we seeing this? Right? Well, I'll tell you why. Somebody's trying to expose everything. Somebody is trying to expose everything. And I mean everything. And when I say this, you guys, this ain't it. It's a lot more players. A lot more people that's potentially going to get named in these indictments that are going to be coming in the near future. It's more indictments coming. We're going to talk about that too, right? This is why you always read the paperwork, right? So basically, the 6 primary individuals in this indictment, formally named, they haven't flipped as of right now. And those who have appeared in court are currently maintaining their innocence, right? So Malik Beasley and sports agent Paolo Zamorano, they've both officially pled not guilty and are fighting these charges. Zamorano's attorney publicly stated that the charges are unfounded and that his client looks forward to being exonerated in court. But again, it seems like they have informants that are helping take this entire situation down. And we're going to talk more about that now. More about these alleged informants that are all in this paperwork, unnamed, right? Uncharged, unindicted. So these are all very important things I think everybody needs to take into its full context, because I believe that the way we're looking at this thing, it's going to get real funky, because it's more than just this situation on your screen. It's a lot of other situations as well that's going on around the NBA. And a lot of people got a lot of questions being asked. But I'm going to give y'all all the info. So make sure y'all smash the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's keep going, you guys, right? And then I'm going to come back to this. So you also have what's supposed to be, right, an investigation going on into the Los Angeles Clippers NBA franchise, right? Now, if you guys remember, there were allegations against the Clippers. Not the Clippers, excuse me, allegations against Kawhi Leonard and his uncle Dennis, that they had asked certain NBA teams for illegal things, illegal benefits. The NBA allegedly investigated this after Kawhi signed with the Clippers. Remember, Kawhi, all of a sudden, he took a lesser deal than he would have got with the Toronto Raptors, and he goes and signs with the Clippers out of the blue, right? Signs with the Clippers. But then it's alleged that he allegedly got all the things he asked for that was illegal with the Toronto Raptors. He allegedly got those things with the Clippers. That's what he's being accused of by journalist Pablo Torre, who has yet to be sued, right? And we're going to talk about all the aspects of that because it's ironic that they traded him back to the Toronto Raptors, which is having a lot of people talk about what's happening behind the scenes and why they did that. But we're going to get back to that right now in just a few minutes. But here's the problem the NBA has. The feds have the authority and the jurisdiction to investigate elements of that NBA aspiration scandal. And the Department of Justice has already secured a major conviction directly tied to it. While the NBA handles internal rules like salary cap convention, the federal government steps in when these same actions cross lines like financial crimes, such as wire fraud, investor deception, and tax evasion. Now, in late June of this year, Aspiration co-founder Joseph Sandberg was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison. Now, he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of federal wire fraud after defrauding investors out of nearly $250 million. Remember, this guy cooperated and still got 14 years. He was mad as hell they gave him 14 years after he cooperated. Matter of fact, there's a video online, you guys, where Joseph Sandberg, the guy from Aspiration, he cooperated. He gave a plea deal and cooperated and still got 14 years. This dude was mad as hell at his lawyers after he got that, after the judge hit him with 14 years still. He was thinking he was going to get hit with like a real low ball because of what? The information he had. But the judge wasn't having it. When them witnesses went up there and gave those impact statements, the judge still gave his ass 14 years. Now again, he pled guilty to 2 counts of federal wire fraud after defrauding investors out of nearly $250 million. A 2023 federal whistleblower complaint alleged that Joseph Sandberg and Aspiration executives intended to funnel a hidden $48 million deal, $28 million in cash, $20 million in equity, to Kawhi Leonard, the NBA player at that time for the Los Angeles Clippers. Now we're talking federal. We're not talking NBA. We're talking what's in the federal paperwork. Disguised as an organic marketing sponsorship, the deal provided the initial roadmap for the federal prosecutors. The feds, right? They don't police the NBA's CBA bargaining agreement. However, if a franchise owner or a corporate partner uses falsified financial statements, bank wires, or hidden equity transfers to execute a side deal, it constitutes federal wire fraud and conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen, right? That's what it does. That's exactly what it does. Now, the NBA did their own investigation, and they have allegedly interviewed Kawhi Leonard, Uncle Dennis, Steve Ballmer. Commissioner Adam Silver noted that the league's investigation is far along and is nearing its end, I should say. Steve Ballmer has strongly denied any conspiracy to bypass the salary cap, even issuing a victim impact letter stating that he was misled by Joseph Sandberg's fraudulent financial representations. Now, following a bizarre and injury-plagued error, Kawhi Leonard was traded right back to the Toronto Raptors the other day, while the league's final ruling remains pending. We're going to talk about that in just a second, too. Now, with the federal government heavily monitoring sports integrity, right, as seen in their concurrent widespread NBA illegal gambling indictments, any verified evidence of broader corporate conspiracy between teams and sponsors will keep the feds involved in this case. Now, here's your next question. Your next question, I know what it's going to be. Well, are they investigating the feds? It's highly likely that that the federal investigators are investigating and reviewing evidence regarding the NBA aspiration deal right now as we speak. And it's highly possible that they are currently or concurrently executing a massive active investigation into the league on the other fronts. While the NBA's independent probe of the LA Clippers is wrapped up or nearing its conclusion, multiple active paths connect the Department of Justice and the FBI to the NBA's operations right now. Let's keep going, right? So basically, former Department of Justice prosecutor Lou Manzo, who originally initiated the federal investigation into aspiration, noted that a 2023 confidential whistleblower, an informant, complaint to the SEC under the penalty of perjury explicitly alleged that the Los Angeles Clippers used a $32 million account to funnel an incentivized bonus to Kawhi Leonard. Aspiration co-founder Joe Sandberg, who I just told y'all was just sentenced to 14 years in prison just last month because he actively cooperated with investigators. Federal prosecutors routinely review that testimony to decide whether to bring secondary wire fraud or conspiracy charges against any other corporate actors or team entities involved in the quote-unquote no-show marketing deals. While the aspiration financials are being parsed, the feds are actively investigating and arresting NBA figures right now in a sprawling multi-year sports rigging and gambling probe. Y'all already know, I just told y'all a few minutes ago about the situation with the current players that they've already swooped up in the latest round, right? The FBI's investigation has expanded heavily. Federal prosecutors and league hire firms are actively seizing and requesting cell phones, records, and text documents from dozens of team employees across 10, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 different NBA teams. Adam Silver, to me, he got to go, bro. He got to go. The active federal probe has already resulted in the arrest of major NBA names, including the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, Chauncey Billups, and veteran players like Terry Rozier and Damon Jones. Between parsing the financial threads left behind by Joe Sandberg's June 2026 sentencing and the rapidly expanding Malik Beasley point-shaving indictments, the federal government's presence inside the NBA front office is currently at an all-time high. Right? And now you wonder, why was Adam Silver getting so close to Donald Trump? They hated Trump. They hated Trump. But why was he getting so close to Donald Trump now? The NBA had such disdain for Donald Trump. They didn't like Donald Trump. And then all of a sudden they invite Donald Trump to the NBA Finals, being nice to Donald Trump, getting close to Donald Trump. All these different things y'all are seeing with the National Basketball Association and Donald J. Trump. We'll get back to that, though. No, we know what we're going to go to right now, right? So many critics and sports analysts have been pointing to the severe pressure of the federal investigations as a major reason why NBA Commissioner Adam Silver has adopted a highly accommodating, warm stance towards President Donald Trump lately. With the league facing a dual front crisis from the Department of Justice, the FBI's sprawling point-shaving racketeering probe, and the ongoing fallout of the corporate aspiration scheme, Adam Silver's recent political pivot has been viewed by many as a strategic image repair and damage control with the head of the executive branch, Donald Trump. The dynamic between the NBA and Donald Trump has shifted from past years in the White House boycott disputes to a highly diplomatic relationship. Adam Silver publicly stated that he was thrilled to have Donald Trump attend Game 3 of the 2026 NBA Finals at Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Spurs. Despite immense fan blowback and criticism from political figures, Adam Silver used major media hits like Inside the NBA to heavily defend Donald Trump, calling him a quintessential New Yorker and a genuine Knicks fan. Now, during the game, Adam Silver personally went up to Donald Trump's luxury suite to pay his respects, engaging in a friendly, televised chat about the state of the league and defensive strategies. With high-profile NBA names like Malik Beasley, Chauncey Billups, and Terry Rozier actively facing federal criminal charges, indictments, the NBA is desperate to protect its public image, publicly alienating the Trump administration while the Department of Justice handles the prosecution is widely considered a bad legal strategy. The NBA has been heavily scrutinized for trying to sweep the aspiration salary cap evasion under the rug by quietly closing its internal probe after Kawhi Leonard was traded back to the Toronto Raptors. Maintaining a positive open-door relationship with executive leadership helps keep the conversation focused on sports as a unifier rather than corporate fraud. The NBA is currently mapping out a massive multi-billion-dollar expansion to add teams to Las Vegas and Seattle by the year of 2028, with high-profile conservative-linked entities like Joshua Kushner reportedly exploring bids. Smooth political relations are essential to secure smooth antitrust clearance and federal backing for new arena infrastructure. By rolling out the red carpet for the president, Donald J. Trump, at the NBA's biggest showcase event, Adam Silver is actively signaling that the league is cooperative, right? Mainstream, and eager to stay on Donald Trump's administration's good side while the federal prosecutors continue to do their work, right? See, for nearly a decade, the NBA was widely considered the most politically aggressive major sports league in America, explicitly led by the outspoken activism of its biggest stars. The stark contrast between the players' history and the league's current stance highlights a deep divide between the labor, which is the players, and the business, which is the front office. LeBron James famously called Donald Trump a bum on Twitter in 2017 after Donald Trump rescinded a White House invitation to the Golden State Warriors, a post that became one of the most viral sports tweets in history. Explicitly, Steph Curry stated that he did not want to visit the White House after winning the championship, choosing to skip the traditional presidential visit in protest of Donald Trump's policies. The 2020 bubble year, under Adam Silver's leadership at that time, the NBA allowed Black Lives Matter to be painted on the courts and permitted players to wear social justice slogans on their jerseys, actions that Trump publicly blasted as political and bad for ratings. So when you see Adam Silver shifting from supporting player boycotts in 2020 to warmly embracing Donald Trump in 2026, it underscores that the NBA's top priority has pivoted entirely to risk management and corporate self-preservation. Superstars like LeBron James and Stephen Curry are in the twilights of their careers. The league is actively, you guys, looking towards its financial future, which relies heavily on federal cooperation for multi-billion-dollar expansion franchises and sports betting regulations. A public war of words with the White House is a luxury that the NBA cannot afford right now. With the Department of Justice aggressively pursuing point-shaving racketeering charges against the NBA personnel, Adam Silver's public friendliness is a deliberate attempt to protect a law-abiding, cooperative, and mainstream image to federal regulators. While the NBA players lean progressive, the league's governors, the owners who employ Adam Silver, are billionaires, whom many are major Republican donors, are close associates of the administration. For example, the Knicks owner James Dolan, who personally hosted Donald Trump at the NBA Finals, has a long history of political ties to Donald Trump. Adam Silver's sudden shift proves that when the federal investigators and billions in corporate expansions are on the line, institutional survival will always override the previous political branding. Right? And here's why this is all important, what I'm telling y'all. Because Donald Trump, as the head of the executive branch, he possesses the constitutional authority to stop or intervene in a federal investigation into the National Basketball Association. Though doing so does carry massive legal and political risk under the unitary executive theory, the president oversees the entire Department of Justice, giving him ultimate control over federal prosecutions. A president can shut down or alter a federal probe using 4 primary mechanisms, you guys. So basically, the president can order the attorney general or the FBI director to drop a specific case or cease an investigation completely. The president selects the political appointees who run the Department of Justice and can replace an uncooperative attorney general with someone who's willing to, quote unquote, kill a probe. The president can also issue a preemptive or post-conviction pardon to any individual or corporate entity, effectively erasing all federal criminal liability. The administration can formally instruct federal prosecutors to reprioritize resources away from sports integrity and towards other initiatives. While the legal authority is absolute, practical execution is incredibly difficult due to institutional safeguards and historical precedents. Meaning, since the Watergate era, the Department of Justice, y'all, has maintained strict formal policies to insulate active criminal investigations from the White House political influence. If a president halts an investigation to protect a personal friend or political donor, like one of those NBA owners, for example, or a business partner, it can trigger obstruction of justice charges or allegations, I should say. Career FBI agents and federal prosecutors frequently leak information to the press or file whistleblower complaints if they believe a legitimate criminal case is being buried for political reasons. If Adam Silver's diplomatic push succeeds, a White House intervention would likely look like a quiet compromise rather than a dramatic public shutdown of a case. In a corporate fraud matter like the aspiration scandal, the Department of Justice could agree to a deferred prosecution agreement called a DPA. That would allow the NBA or the Clippers to pay a massive fine without any executives facing criminal indictments. The administration might allow the FBI to aggressively prosecute low-level rogue actors in the point-shaving scandal, while steering federal focus completely away from team ownership and league management. Right? Now, if Donald Trump were to do this, here's the problem that he has, because he would face several severe legal, political, and institutional backlash for halting an active federal criminal investigation. Now, while the constitutional power to do so is absolute, executing it to protect a multi-billion-dollar sports corporation or political allies triggers immediate crisis for Donald Trump. Directing the Department of Justice to drop a case to protect personal or political interests can be investigated as obstruction of justice. Congress can view the political interference as an abuse of power and launch an immediate impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump. If the public or Congress demands an independent inquiry, it can force the appointment of an outside special counsel to investigate the president's moves and his motives. Also, you could have the deep institutional blowback from this situation, meaning that career federal prosecutors and high ranking Department of Justice officials often reign in protest, causing a public relations disaster akin to the Nixon era Saturday Night Massacre. If you guys remember that, if you're old enough. Also, furious FBI agents and investigators routinely, like I said, they link suppressed evidence to major media outlets, ensuring that the scandal remains public anyways. The Department of Justice Independent Office of the Inspector General can launch an immediate investigation into political interference with the department. Publicly, you understand, there will be severe public media fallout and publicly saving wealthy NBA owners and superstars while average citizens face strict federal sentencing creates a devastating political narrative as well. If the public believes that the president covered up an NBA point shaving or financial fraud ring, it destroys public trust in the entire sports gambling and entertainment economy. Because of these extreme consequences, presidents rarely kill investigations overtly. Instead, they rely on strategic Department of Justice appointments to quietly shift prosecutorial priorities or slow walk specific cases behind closed doors. To bring charges against the National Basketball Association. To the brother who says, I'm just yapping, guess what? This indictment on your screen don't say I'm yapping. This 22-page federal indictment on your screen, it don't say I'm yapping, little boy. See, you dudes is suckers. And y'all gonna learn the hard way, man. That indictment you see on the screen right there, a 22-page federal indictment, where you got guys facing 45 years in prison, that's not me just on here yapping, boy. That's real federal prison time. You understand what I'm saying? That's the type of time where niggas ain't getting out to their mid-70s, 80s, in some of these cases, if they get those years. What are you talking about, dog? What are you talking about? Well, let's keep going to it, right? So basically, to bring charges against the NBA as a corporate entity or its leadership, the federal prosecutors would need to have explicit evidence that the league's office was not merely a victim or observer, but an active co-conspirator. While the Department of Justice routinely prosecutes individuals, bad actors within the league, such as the Aspiration co-founder Joe Sandberg or indicted players like Malik Beasley, charging the league itself requires meeting highly specific legal thresholds. The feds need to prove this. One, wire fraud. They basically have to have emails, text messages, or internal memos showing that the league officials actively help hide illicit transactions, such as knowing about the Clippers' hidden multi-million-dollar aspiration side deal and helping falsify documents to conceal it from auditors. If Adam Silver or any high-ranking league executive uncovered hardcore evidence of wire fraud, tax evasion, or point-shaving racketeering and took active steps to bury or conceal that evidence from federal investigators, they could be charged with concealing a federal crime. Under federal law, a corporation can be criminally charged if its high-level agents commit crimes within the scope of their employment that were intended in at least part to benefit the corporation, right? Also, if a corporate or executive federal indictment were actually handed down, ability will fall squarely upon the specific tiers of the organization. The commissioner, Adam Silver, and the franchise owners, i.e., a guy like Steve Ballmer, in that case, if it was true, if it was handed down. As the chief executive officer of the league, Adam Silver bears the ultimate institutional responsibility. So if he signed off on misleading financial disclosures to the public or federal regulators regarding the league's financial health, corporate partnerships, or internal corruption, guess what, you guys? He would face direct criminal liability. Individual owners like Steve Ballmer of the Clippers are the actual equity holders of the league. And if an owner used their team's executive office to facilitate illicit wire transfers or bribe funneling schemes, that specific owner, alongside the chief financial officer, would be indicted for corporate fraud. The NBA's top internal lawyers and compliance officials are tasked with vetting corporate sponsorships and auditing team finances. If they rubber stamped fraudulent bookkeeping or ignored internal whistleblower alerts to shield the league from scrutiny, they will be charged as co-conspirators. Right? Think about what I just said to y'all. Think about what I just said to y'all. So, me saying that tells y'all this. The fact that y'all see all of these indictments that I'm showing y'all on y'all screen, and I've been showing y'all, you better damn well believe that the federal authorities are actively investigating the National Basketball Association right now through a massive multi-year sports rigging and illegal gambling crackdown. This is no longer a theoretical threat. The Department of Justice and the FBI are executing, quote unquote, Operation Nothing But Net and quote unquote Operation Royal Flush, which have resulted in criminal indictments against multiple high profile players and coaches. Federal prosecutors have completely bypassed internal league discipline because the allegations cross directly into major federal crimes, specifically wire fraud, bribery in sporting contests, and money laundering conspiracy. Rather than just looking at the league from a distance, the FBI has targeted multiple distinct tiers of the NBA infrastructure. Right? The scale of this operation makes it the largest professional sports gambling scandal in modern U.S. history, you guys, requiring extensive federal intelligence. Wiretaps. Now listen to what I'm about to tell y'all very closely. If you don't believe me, just take your ass and read this paperwork. It's 22 pages long. You read this paperwork if you don't believe me, because I ain't gonna do nothing but tell you the whole truth on this damn channel. Right? You read this paperwork. It's 22 pages long. But I'm gonna do something for y'all. The FBI's organized crime squad, you guys, built their cases using more than 3,000 recorded wiretap conversations collected over a 4-year period. Federal agencies are working alongside third-party compliance watchdogs whose algorithms flagged hyper-specific, massive betting spikes on obscure player prop bets right before game time. Right? The investigation has expanded beyond the initial arrest. Federal agents are actively examining phone logs, text messages, and internal team injury reports across at least 10 different NBA franchises to see how deeper the insider information web goes. The sheer volume of recent activity, punctuated by Malik Beasley walking into a Brooklyn federal court, confirms that the feds are heavily embedded in an active investigation into the NBA's gambling crisis. Are you hearing me? Now, you'll probably say, Ticket, well, what if the NBA didn't do their job? What if the NBA didn't do their job, Ticket? Well, I got you covered. See, if the NBA failed to proactively investigate and police its own personnel amid these federal indictments that I'm showing y'all, it faces a devastating long-term consequence that could permanently damage its business model, strip its legal immunities, and destroy its public credibility, which is already done. It's already destroyed in my opinion, it's already destroyed the image of Adam Silver and these guys, and just by a lot of people. A lot of people want Adam Silver and these guys to step down, man. They feel like the league has been destroyed by these guys, right? Basically, it would be a stripping of the NBA's antitrust exemptions, meaning the NBA enjoys, you guys, massive legal and economic privileges under federal law, allowing the 30 teams to operate as a coordinated monopoly. So if the league is seen as asleep at the wheel while the coaches and players manipulate games, Congress would immediately launch a bipartisan oversight hearings, right? This is what I'm telling you. This is how real this shit is right now. This is why you see Adam Silver over there kikiing with Donald Trump. Shout out to my boy Hitman next in the building. Salute to my brother. It's my brother from another. Lawmakers would move to revoke the sports league exemptions that protect the NBA's multi-billion-dollar broadcasting rights and corporate structures, exposing the league to crippling antitrust lawsuits. Also, you would have a massive breach of contract in sportsbook lawsuits. The explosion of the legal sports betting has tied the NBA's revenue directly to regulated sportsbooks. The NBA signs massive licensing deals and data deals with gaming giants like DraftKings and FanDuel. These contracts explicitly require the league to maintain strict integrity monitoring. If the NBA fails to monitor its personnel, sportsbooks could sue the league for hundreds of millions of dollars in damages due to manipulated data. Furthermore, millions of sports bettors could launch historic class action fraud lawsuits against the National Basketball Association for allowing rigged contests. You would also have a total collapse of the broadcast and sponsorship revenue. The modern NBA, you guys, is funded entirely by its broadcast partners, ESPN, NBC, Amazon, and corporate advisors, or advertisers, I should say. The black box effect is what would kick in. Basically, if fans and networks believe that the games are actively compromised, which a lot are right now, by point shaving rings, viewership will crater. Right? Blue chip corporate sponsors would immediately invoke morality clauses to exit their contracts, refusing to let their brands be associated with a league perceived as corrupt and corrupted by organized crime. Who already exposed this? Michael Francis, the gangster. He already exposed that. He already told y'all what it was with the mob and these players. Immediate government takeover via federal monitorship. If the feds determine that Adam Silver's office cannot or will not properly police its own sport, the Department of Justice will not let the league continue operating normally. As a part of a corporate criminal investigation or deferred prosecution agreement, a federal judge would appoint an independent court-appointed or court-ordered federal monitor. This monitor would be embedded inside the NBA's New York headquarters, seizing control of all internal investigations, auditing team communications, and forcing compliance protocols. The league will completely lose its independence. The NBA can't legally punish or suspend players without following the guidelines of the CBA. But if the league relies solely on federal rumors without running its own thorough parallel investigation, the NBA will file immediately, or Players Association, I say, will file immediate grievances to block arbitrary player suspensions. Now, this would trap the NBA in a state of paralysis, right? Forcing them to allow federally indicted players onto the court while the legal system grinds along for several years, right? Now think about this. The NBA told y'all Adam Silver allowed Terry Rozier to be traded. He approved the trade of Terry Rozier to the Miami Heat. Terry Rozier was under investigation, but did the Miami Heat know? The Miami Heat, you can argue they lost assets on a player they didn't get the fair return off of. Wasn't they notified that this player was being investigated? You have to ask yourself those questions. Would they have made that move if they knew that that player was being investigated? Now that player not only was being investigated, that player had been indicted by the feds. So it's bigger than the NBA now, right? So the NBA, Adam Silver came out and says, "Oh, well, we can't," because they asked him, he said, "Well, how did you not find out on this guy? You can't do nothing." But the feds came in and swooped this dude up. He was like, "Oh, we don't have the same type of resources." Man, nobody want to hear that shit, man. Right? That's the flaw in the league's defense. That has the outside investigators, legal experts, and the fans highly skeptical of what this man is saying. Because the NBA possesses a massive, sophisticated internal security apparatus staffed by former high-ranking federal FBI agents, federal prosecutors, and elite cyber forensic analysts, giving the league's immense resources and strict player surveillance, claiming they couldn't find anything on NBA player Terry Rozier before the feds stepped in, strains their own credibility. Right? Think about what I just said. Now, while the NBA does have cutting-edge investigation tools, they're ultimately a private corporation, not a law enforcement agency. Their powers are limited by what is legally permissible, meaning the feds built this case against Terry Rozier in the gambling ring using thousands of hours of federal wiretaps and secret recordings. The NBA does not have the legal authority to wiretap phones or phone lines or secretly record private conversations. They also seized off-grid devices. The NBA can demand a player's official team-issued phone or look at, league monitored accounts under the CBA. However, they can't legally force a player's outside associates, family members, or illegal bookmakers to hand over their personal encrypted burner phones. The feds can execute criminal search warrants to seize everything. And also the FBI can trace the actual money trail, the cash bribes, crypto wallets, and the offshore bank accounts by issuing federal grand jury subpoenas. But the NBA has no power to force external banks to hand over financial records. Many sports law analysts argue that the NBA didn't find anything because they didn't want to look hard, acknowledging that an active, high-profile NBA player is intentionally faking injuries to shave points destroys the competitive integrity of the game. It hurts ticket sales, craters TV ratings, and damages the league's multi-billion-dollar relationship with legal gambling partners like DraftKings and FanDuel. If the NBA conducts a shallow internal review and finds insufficient evidence, they can keep the player on the court and protect their revenue by leaving the heavy lifting to the feds. The league can later claim that they were blindsided victims rather than negligent enablers. The NBA uses highly advanced data monitoring algorithms to watch for betting irregularities on their games. However, point shaving via player prop bets is notoriously difficult for standard algorithms to catch on their own because you got the injury loophole. That's if a player chooses to miss shots or exit a game early claiming an injury. It looks like a routine, unfortunate basketball play on a spreadsheet. Because players like Terry Rozier allegedly use intermediary gatekeepers, right, to place the actual bets through complex underground offshore rings, the money and the bets never touch the legal, right, U.S. regulated sports books that the NBA openly monitors, right? Meaning you got a middleman, that guy has somebody else, and then they're getting money overseas doing this shit, right? They linking somebody else, right? So basically, the NBA's advanced investigation system is designed to police locker room conduct and minor rule infractions. When it comes to uncovering, deep multi-million-dollar criminal conspiracies tied to organized crime, the league's private corporate powers simply pale in comparison to the FBI, giving the league a convenient excuse to look the other way until the handcuffs come out. Right? And yes, from reading this indictment right here, from reading this entire indictment, and I suggest you guys go read this indictment, it is highly likely that more NBA players, coaches, or staff members will be named in future unsealed federal indictments, right? As criminal law experts and media insiders are warning that the current waves of indictments that y'all have been seeing are merely scratching the surface of a significantly larger and interconnected web. Federal prosecutors rarely conclude an investigation while actively flipping primary targets, and several factors indicate that more names are coming down that line, right? So you had the investigative waves, and that proves that this case is expanding. You've had people that's doing talking. Something's been going on because the Department of Justice is deliberately unsealing indictments in stages, you guys, as they build their larger racketeering cases, right? What do I mean? The first wave in October 2025, the unsealing of Operation Nothing But Net, Operation Royal Flush, exposed the initial core ring, arresting 34 people, including NBA player Terry Rozier, NBA coach Chauncey Billups, and former NBA player and voluntary NBA coach Damon Jones. You had the second wave that just came out this past month, proving that the case was still actively growing. The feds unsealed a completely new indictment charging Malik Beasley and Ed Davis, two now former NBA basketball players, for game manipulation dating back to Malik Beasley's time with the Milwaukee Bucks. The timeline demonstrates that the FBI is systemically, you know what I'm saying, moving from team to team as their data compliance software flags historic inactive anomalies, right? So the fastest way the feds secure names for a new indictment is through the snitches, and they all in the paperwork. Former player and assistant coach Damon Jones formally agreed to take a plea deal to reduce his prison sentence, his potential prison sentence. Damon Jones and other flipping defendants are legally required to provide, quote unquote, substantial assistance to the government. This means handing over encrypted group chats, identifying other players who shared inside injury information, and pointing out coaches or trainers who helped facilitate the schemes. When the FBI executed its initial multi-state sting, they seized the cell phones, hard drives, and financial records of more than 30 defendants. Federal digital forensics teams are actively parsing through years of data from those devices. If a player's name appears in a text thread with handicapper Shane Hennon or intermediary gatekeepers like what they call Ed Davis, the FBI builds a secondary file. Legal analysis, right, or analysts, I should say, note that the feds keep these secondary names under seal indictments until they have successfully mapped out the exact bank or cryptocurrency trail to back up the text messages, right? So the FBI has already expanded its evidence gathering footprint to check communications and injury reporting data across at least 10 different NBA franchises, because point shaving rings rely heavily on a network of people that operate undetected, right? Meaning players who miss shots or trainers who would fake injury reports and managers who would handle the lines. The structural rot almost guarantees that more secondary team figures will be exposed as the electronic trail is fully mapped, right? Now, Damon Jones came out immediately after pleading guilty, and he stated through his lawyer that he's not cooperating, right? Now, there's a difference between a plea agreement and a cooperation agreement. In the federal system, there are two completely different types of agreements that a defendant can strike with the prosecutors. A straight plea deal is what Damon Jones did. The defendant simply admits to their own crimes to avoid a lengthy, unpredictable trial. They accept responsibility in exchange for the prosecution recommending a slightly lower sentence within the standard federal guidelines, and they don't have to provide new names, hand over secrets, or testify against co-defendants. Now you have a cooperation agreement. That's called the flip. This requires a formal 5K 1.1 letter from prosecutors. In this scenario, the defendant must provide substantial assistance, which means actively giving information on other players, coaches, or mob figures to help the FBI make new arrests. Now, Damon Jones did not sign that. Because Damon Jones is not giving up information to help catch other people, he did not get the massive sentence reductions that true informants will receive. So the recommended prison time. Federal prosecutors have suggested a combined sentence of up to 8 years in prison for Damon Jones, right? 21 to 27 months for the sports betting ring, and 63 to 78 months for the rigged poker scam. If he were fully cooperating and providing evidence on Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups, prosecutors would have probably advocate for probation or dramatically lower sentence to reward him for that full cooperation, right? Now, the reason why his lawyers came out and said he's not cooperating, basically in a massive federal sweep, you guys, that's involved more than 30 co-defendants, which prosecutors explicitly notes includes high-ranking members of the Gambino, Genovese, and Bonanno crime families. Being labeled a snitch or an informant carries immense personal safety risk. By publicly stating that Damon Jones is not cooperating, his legal team is signaling to his co-defendants that he has taken his punishment on the chin without dragging anyone else down with him. Even though Jones isn't actively giving information, his guilty plea still deals a heavy blow to the remaining defendants. By reading a prepared statement admitting that he conspired with others to use non-public NBA injury info and lure wealthy victims into rigged poker games, Damon Jones legally validates the prosecution's entire conspiracy theory. The feds can now use Damon Jones' signed admission of guilt as leverage to pressure former NBA player Terry Rozier and head coach Chauncey Billups into taking deals on their own. Right? So, basically, you guys, future indictments, you're probably looking at around, I would say, from what the paperwork is saying, they're saying this thing is widespread. Right? How should I say it to you guys? Wow, man. For example, Damon Jones, let's use him. He chose a straight plea deal to protect his associates, other non-player fixtures, offshore bookmakers, right? And handicappers like Shane Hennon are facing staggering federal prison sentences under the RICO and wire fraud statutes. Now, as the trial dates for the uncooperative defendants loom closer, the prosecutors routinely use the threat of maximum sentencing to force quote unquote fixers into signing formal cooperation agreements, which immediately yields a fresh batch of unsealed indictments targeting the people who bought or sold that data, right? So this is already spilled over into college basketball, right? Where a massive branch of probe unsealed in Philly charged 26 people, including 15 NCAA Division I basketball players, with sports rigging, right? So because college players routinely transition into the NBA or maintain close ties to the same illicit handlers, the cross pollination between the amateur and professional investigations heavily implies that the feds are sitting on further unsealed crossover files, right? This is crazy, man. And the systematic rollout of these documents proves that the Department of Justice is building its cases like a pyramid, meaning the names at both the collegiate and professional levels will likely surface as the remaining defendants are pushed to trial. So it's likely that you'll see potentially up to 10 more NBA players named, current or former players, in the new federal indictments, right? Because as I told y'all, the feds actively requested internal records, injury communication files, and phone logs from personnel across 10 NBA teams, right? And the feds are not looking at isolated incidents. Their data compliance software is algorithmically scanning years of historic prop bet spiking. If a player's text messages or off the grid communications intersect with the known intermediaries already in custody, their name is systematically added to a sealed indictment filed while prosecutors map out their corresponding banking or cryptocurrency trails. Right? Then you have the pattern of gambling calls or sales, I should say, right? So there's a lot of these alleged things going on, right? And then they squeeze the network gatekeepers to get information, right? Think about that. So basically, they have a massive scale of electronic evidence seized from individuals, including encrypted group chats and burner devices, y'all. They got those too. The current total represents only the initial phase of a multi-year federal sweep that will continue to yield names well into the upcoming season. Right? So this is crazy, man. This is real crazy, y'all. When you look at the situation, I'm just telling y'all, man, this is very bad for the National Basketball Association. Right? Um, and it's gonna get worse. It's gonna be more people that's named, right? So these indictments, you guys, have proven that multiple NBA players and coaches did not just know about the system; they actively use it to manipulate games, share insider information, and run illicit gambling rings. So the FBI's ongoing investigations, Operation Nothing But Net and Operation Royal Flush, have shattered the idea that sports gambling is something personal only watch from the sidelines. Right? The unsealed federal cases have revealed a highly organized system where NBA figures use the gambling economy for direct personal profit through different, distinct methods, I would say. And that's point shaving, right? And manipulating stats, right? Monitoring personnel, acting as uh, gatekeepers. They have this, gatekeep information and running or underground gambling rings backed by organized crime. Right? Think about what I just said to y'all. Right? So they're gonna be looking at they find these different things, right? Within the system. I told you guys, man, this is a bad look for Adam Silver, man. He's in a to me, bro, especially this aspiration thing blow up. Because I'm gonna tell y'all something. If Pablo Torre, I want y'all to think about this. If he comes out and drops a bomb on everybody, it's over with. Right? Think about the Clippers. They traded Kawhi back to Toronto. A lot of people are thinking that's some under the table shit. Right? And they've accused the NBA of choosing a short term damage control over a thorough, transparent, you know, reckoning of the LA strippers. Right? Trying to tell y'all this. Trying to tell y'all this, man. Sad, bro. Truly is. So to the public and federal regulators, letting the Clippers trade Kawhi Leonard, right, looks like an internal effort to sweep the problem under the rug, out of sight, out of mind, basically, right? Think about this. Total collapse of the NBA image will be on the line if feds bring indictments against Steve Ballmer or the Clippers. It establishes a devastating pattern of institutional negligence by Adam Silver, right? The NBA claimed they couldn't find any evidence on Terry Rozier or Malik Beasley, forcing the FBI to step in with wiretaps to bust an organized crime point shaving ring operating inside active locker rooms. The NBA's internal compliance teams repeatedly missed or ignored $32 million whistleblower roadmap detailing cap circumvention. Or cap circumvention, I should say. I made up a whole word. Leaving federal prosecutors to secure the criminal fraud convictions, I should say, right? And this consecutive failure proves that the NBA's internal security apparatus is fundamentally incapable of policing its own ranks, completely shattering the league's image as a tightly regulated corporate entity. Think about what I'm saying to y'all, right? By failing to proactively punish Steve Ballmer and instead of allowing a standard player trade to occur, the NBA surrendered its authority. If Adam Silver had aggressively stripped the Clippers of draft picks, be it that they was found guilty, issued massive internal fines or suspension, suspend team executives before the federal case concluded, the league could have claimed it was actively cleaning its own house. Because they did nothing, a future federal indictment against Steve Ballmer would give the Department of Justice total justification to take control of the situation. The government could force a DPA, a deferred prosecution agreement, and install independent court-appointed federal monitor inside the NBA league office to oversee all franchise audits and corporate partnerships. The NBA's decision to let the Clippers quietly move on from Kawhi Leonard may have saved them from a rocky press, cycle in the short term, but it left them completely exposed to a catastrophic public relations and legal disaster if the federal hammer falls on the ownership next, meaning Steve Ballmer. Right? Think about what I'm saying to y'all. There are even whispers of a quiet settlement. And this is why they sent Kawhi back. Right? Think about this. Nasty work. Nasty work. Nasty work. Right? It's a lot more I could tell y'all in this video. Right? But I'm going to tell y'all this. If Pablo Torre drops an episode revealing, if he drops another episode, which I know he got some up his sleeve, revealing undeniable ironclad proof that the Los Angeles Clippers executed the aspiration side deal, it would completely humiliate both the commissioner and the prestigious law firm of Wachtel, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz. Right? It would expose the outside law firm strategy as a corporate shield. Right? It would destroy the "we couldn't find the evidence" defense by the league. Right? And it hand delivers the case right to the Department of Justice. They better hope Pablo Torre, because I know he got that. I know Pablo Torre got that smoking gun, and guess what? I know Adam Silver's fearful of what Pablo Torre got because he's an independent investigative journalist. He ain't signed to one of these corporations where they're gonna make him stay in line, right? And because he's not that, he's not bound to any NDAs, right? Think about what I said. And if Pablo would have dropped that last piece of 100% evidence, it will force all the NBA owners to step up with undeniable evidence. Right? Think about it. And if he does it, he would have embarrassed the entire law firm and hand delivered the evidence that you mean to tell me a law firm couldn't find, but little old Pablo can? Nah, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Nope. So y'all let me know what y'all feel, man. I had a lot more I could have gave y'all. Right? I had a lot more I could have gave y'all, but I'll say that for if Pablo drops that next video. But yeah, y'all gotta look through this paperwork, man. I gotta look through all this paperwork, bro. It's nasty. Like, share, subscribe, you guys. Y'all let me know what y'all feel. Make sure y'all check out the podcast show. We'll be giving a 40-inch screen TV at the end of this month to one of our paid podcast show hosts. Podcast show subscribers, excuse me. So if you're one of our paid, all it takes is $1 a month. You get on that level, each month we're giving a giveaway. At the end of this month, we're giving a free 40-inch screen TV to all of our Patreon podcast subscribers. All you got to do is click that link in the comments pinned at the top or in the chat room. Subscribe to the podcast, and you'll be put inside of the raffle for the TV at the end of this month. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Peace. Hey, we always appreciate the support, and if you guys want to do so, you can use the Cash App or PayPal links. They'll be in the description box below this video or pinned at the top of the comments. The top donators will be announced every month. All right, you guys, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure y'all cop the merch, and make sure that you get the weight loss formula. The links to that will be in the description box below this video. Check out our next video coming up right